Okay, it's getting broadcasted. Hare Krishna. So, from today, we will start the part 1 of overview of Srimad Bhagavad-Gītā. Now, feel free to stop me anytime for any questions you might have. And it's very important then whatever we deal with, we always ask questions. And this presentation is courtesy Amrit Ananda Prabhuji in Seattle. So Prabhuji's email ID is there as well. If in case anyone would like to contact him, he has put together many presentations, and I use a lot of his presentations as well. Some of the one we are doing for Goloka charts, they are different. But for Bhagavad-Gītā, his presentation, and I have another set of presentations, those two presentations are very good, Bhagavad-Gītā. So all courtesy, all glories to him. Let's start with the introduction of, so this morning, every Sunday we go to the temple in Watford, Bhaktivedanta Manor. And this morning we gave a tour to some of the visitors, and there were 5 people. There were 3 who were nearby, and they didn't know anything about Hindu culture. They were not Hindus. The other 2, they were from India, so they were not Hindu. They said they are Punjabis, but could be considered. They knew a lot, but the temple itself was new for all of them. So usually visitors like this, we go along and we give the tour, which is really nice. So if anytime any of you would visit Bhaktivedanta Manor in Watford, then ask for the tour at reception, and somebody would come along and will explain different parts of the temple, when and why those places were created, and what do we do in all different aspects. And there were many kids as well, because on Sunday there is a Krishna club in the morning, there is a Krishna club in afternoon. So the question we asked, okay, Shivani got hands up. Yes, Shivani.
Can I tell you a fact about the man?
Okay, Shivani goes to one of those Krishna club. I think she would like to share something. Yes, what would you like to share, please?
I can't remember his name, but he was a singer, and there were 3 couples who asked him if he could chant Hare Krishna so everybody could know about Krishna. And he said that they could also sing with him, and he also donated the manor to them.
Very nice. Thank you so much, Shivani. Yes. So I think the singer you're referring to is George Harrison from Beaton, and he was one of those who came in touch with Srila Prabhupada, and Prabhupada shared the wisdom, just like he shared with everyone. He shared with him as well. He got so motivated that he donated the temple. So the part of the majority of the temple, what we see at Watford, has been donated by George Harrison, and there is an area dedicated to him for him. And apparently that area, the garden, because George Harrison was a gardener as well, along with being a very successful musician. Sorry, Shivani, would you like to add some more?
I was just saying that when we were learning about George Harrison, we also went to the garden, because I think where the back in the front area of where you take the darshan, where you put your shoes, it's nearby there that you can see the garden.
True. Very true. Yes. So there are a couple of entrances. There is one main entrance, and there's a back entrance. So where the back entrance is, if we just go further down, there's a small garden, and that garden was actually designed by George Harrison and his family. His son, I think, and his wife, they were there, and all 3, they designed that how they would like that place to look like, which is called as George Harrison Garden. at the temple. So thank you for reminding that, Shirani. So one of the well, when the people come there, the visitors, they come along and you give the tour. Of course, they are full of anxiety and curiosity. They're curious to know a lot more. So one of the question was asked that, but there are so many Bhagavad-Gītā in the market. And I said, well, actually, that's not true. There are not so many Bhagavad-Gītā. There is one Bhagavad-Gītā because the Sanskrit, Bhagavad-Gītā was in Sanskrit, it is still in Sanskrit. So wherever you go on the planet, you will see Bhagavad-Gītā is the same. However, from Sanskrit, so Sanskrit will be the same, and Sanskrit where the Bhagavad-Gītā was and is, and hopefully will always remain. But the translation after that could be in different languages. That could be in English, it could be in Gujarati, it could be in French, it could be in Russian, it could be in Chinese. And there are many languages in Africa. The Bhagavad-Gītā is coming now. I think somebody said around 400 different translations of Bhagavad-Gītā are there. But they are all translations. But even if we'll say apart from translations, there are many different purposes. So somebody maybe from Ramakrishna Mission. So Vivekananda has his own translation of Bhagavad-Gītā. So Bhagavad-Gītā is the same. Sanskrit verses are same. The translation are more or less same, but the purport, they are very different. So is the purports of which is purports are synonym of explanation. So a verse is said, for example, 15.15 is one of my favorite. It says, Sarvasya chaham hirde sanya vishto. Like the Lord says, Krishna says, I'm in the heart of everyone. So that's the reason in India, most of the people, they say, we don't need to look for the God. God is always inside. And when the lockdown happened in 2020, devotees started saying, if you cannot go out, go in, which means you spend time spiritually connected to Krishna, because people could not even go to the temple and say, well, we cannot be spiritual, we cannot be religious because we cannot go to the temple. And one of the verses, as it says, Krishna is there in the heart of everyone. So it was so interesting. Now, the same Sanskrit verse will be there, whichever Bhagavad-Gītā we will pick. However, what does that imply? How we can implement what we can learn from this verse could be different. And this is, I was reading another book which is not spiritual, but it's spiritually inclined. You might have heard a name of a scientist, Stephen Hawking. And Hawking, he was a genius, right? And he had many different aspects on God. So he has written a very famous book called Theory of Everything. And he has talked a lot about God. But a lot of theories, the theorems, which is like the concepts, the laws, which others have done, when he had a look of them, he got his own perspective. And based on his perspective, he devised many more theories. It's like when Einstein saw, was it Einstein? That was Newton. When Newton saw the apple falling down, then it was nothing new. Many people had observed apple falling down in the history, but he was the one who went further and said, why that happened. So then he gave the explanation. So this is what the scientists do. And in that respect, all the acharyas, if you think, they are the scientists, because they read one verse of Bhagavad-Gītā and then they explain what does that mean, or how you can implement it further. And this is exactly what happened. So doesn't really matter where we are, doesn't really matter where we pick it from. But if we pick one Bhagavad-Gītā, well, all the Bhagavad-Gītā are the same. The very first thing, there could be different translations in different languages. There could be different purpose. Now, which purpose to go for? And that was the question asked. And I said, well, if in Google you put which are the Bhagavad-Gītās in the market, then if you pick the top 10, the topmost is Bhagavad-Gītā as it is. Now this as it is resembles that this is coming from Srila Prabhupada. This resembles that this is coming from Gaudiya Mutt. Now why Gaudiya, we will see later. And this seems to be the most popular and authentic Bhagavad-Gītā translation, which is available anywhere. Most of the time we go for. So I think that somebody said that there are only 2 places, but that's not true. There's only 1 place, I think, in North Korea. Somebody said in past that it's in only 2 places, in Pakistan and in North Korea. You won't find Bhagavad-Gītā. But then I have met somebody who is from Pakistan, and he was Hindu, and he was reading Bhagavad-Gītā. I met him in Middle East, in Oman. And he said, yes, yeah, there are many Hindus there, of course, in minority, but we do read Bhagavad-Gītā. And he was there. He was reading this Bhagavad-Gītā. And this is what it is, right? Bhagavad-Gītā as it is. Of course, North Korea could be exempt, because I don't think anybody would like to go there. But similarly, we had issues in Russia and China as well, being very politically different. So Bhagavad-Gītā as it is the one we are reading, which is by founder Acharya of ISKCON, as we said, International Society of Krishna Consciousness. Remember Krishna consciousness? The whole idea is to enhance Krishna consciousness. Great. Now Devesh and Devika have joined. Great. Welcome, you guys. So I hope now it's fixed that we're going to have this timing going forward, at least until March, and then in April we will see if in case we need to change. And usually we change it because the more light comes out, and the kids, they love to spend time in the park, so playing most of the time, and that's the reason we usually shift the timing. And the same thing happens at the winter time, because usually kids go, well, here in London it's get dark and all, so people go to the bed a bit earlier. Right, okay, so let's do Mangalacharan, pay our obeisances to all the acharyas, all the gurus. Hare Krishna. Yes, Shivani, you got your hands up, please. What's up?
I was actually just about to tell you that he didn't do the Mangalacharan when you said let's do the Mangalacharan.
Ah, okay, thank you. Yes, yeah. Now the previous slide was on said Bhagavad-Gītā as it is. So I thought I will explain a bit more on it, because as I was saying, that somebody asked me this question this morning in the temple, that which Bhagavad-Gītā we should read. There are so many Bhagavad-Gītās. And then as I explained that Bhagavad-Gītā as it is seems to be the most acceptable, and this seems to be most authentic. It's one of those which is, like we say, if you are in Oxford or Cambridge universities, or if you are in America, then if you go to Stanford or Harvard, then whichever is there in your syllabus, most of the time, that's the topmost priority. But of course, along with the side, if you want to read anything else, you could, but it should be supplementary. Well, we say supplementary or complementary. It should not be the replacement. But the way it's been done, Srila Prabhupada has put so much information in Bhagavad-Gītā as it is, that there should not be any need. And when you will read it, you will realize there is no need to read any other Bhagavad-Gītā. Bhagavad-Gītā as it is will give you everything you need from the perspective of Vedic wisdom. Great. Now let's do the Mangalacharan, and we shall move forward. Ajnanatimirandhasya jnananjanam shalakaya chakshurunmilitam yena tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamaniya Dadatim Swadantikam Vandeham Shri Gurun Shri Yudapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Natavitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhavitam Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Sindhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchan Gauranga Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pramami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyacha Kirpa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschat Deshitarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna. Right. So, as we were discussing that before we'll get into the integrity and very detailed information on each verse and each chapter of Bhagavad-Gītā, we thought it might be a great idea just to go the overview of the whole Bhagavad-Gītā. And sometimes it's very important because when we get into details, sometimes we miss what we call the bird view, the overview. So it's important to do the overview at the end. It's also good to have the summary in the beginning as well. What we say, the contents, what we're gonna do. Now, this verse itself. This is one of the acharyas, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. What Srila Prabhupada ji did, he compiled Bhagavad-Gītā based on many other previous commentaries. He added his own bits, but he had previous commentaries by many, 6 or 7 acharyas, and one of them was majority of the work was done by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. Now, there is another one. He got a lot more from him as well. But this is another thing, another difference between spiritual and material. Materially, when we copy from someone, well, materially also we call it copyright. If you have borrowed it from somewhere, you either need to take the permission or you have to give the reference that I have taken this from there, right? In the spirituality, very similar, but it's not only that it's required by law, but you are humble enough that you say what I'm presenting is not my work, or I have inspired by someone, even if it's your majority of work is yours. So a lot of times Srila Prabhupada said that I'm just a postman. You know, when the postman comes along, whatever the message or the Amazon gift, well, these days being Christmas, a lot of Amazon gifts come around, but any parcel we get from delivery man, they don't really know. They might not even have, well, they wouldn't have added anything from them, but somebody else from the source is responsible. And this is what Srila Prabhupada said, that my spiritual master, the philosophy is from my teacher, the acharyas. Acharyas are like various teachers, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhuji, then obviously Lord Krishna. So he always gave references and the credit to all of them. But Chaitanya Mata Manjusa is one of the scripture written by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakurji, and this is the verse from there. Anyone would like to read the verse in English, please? Or you can try if you like in Sanskrit as well, but in English, anyone?
I can do it.
Yeah, go on, Ishan.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna, the son of Nanda Maharaja, is worshipped along with his transcendental abode, Vrindavana. The most pleasing form of worship for the Lord is that which was performed by the gopis of Vrindavana. Srimad Bhagavatam is the spotless authority of everyone, and pure love of Godhead is the ultimate goal of life for all men. These statements, for which we have the highest regard, are the opinion of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu.
Hare Krishna. Very nice. Thank you so much, Ishan. Today itself, I was reading that, and I was listening as well while driving, that just by taking these names, we get purified. And it's amazing. Sometimes it will look very bizarre. How? Like in Oh My God? Was it Oh My God? Yeah. Where one of the scene, the main actor, he didn't believe in God initially. Later,
Yeah.
Yeah,
I remember it.
You remember it? Okay, Shivani, thank you. So in one of the scene, he said that I think the wife said, "I'm going to do a fast for you," and then he said, "Well, it's like you put your mobile on charging, and you expect my mobile is going to get charged." I think something similar. That how come something you are doing, I'm going to get benefit, but this used to happen, and this is still happen. How does it happen if you think about it? And many experiments being done, because in philosophy and psychologically we do a lot of experiments, and a lot of experiments being happen in universities. So in one of the test experiment, what happened, there were two parrots, and one parrot was taken by the Brahmin, and another when I say Brahmin, somebody who is learned, somebody who is spiritually inclined, and the other parrot was taken by somebody who doesn't do all these pious activities, but he swear a lot. So both parrots were very similar, and sold by the same guy, and whatever he taught both the parrots, because parrots are very good in reciting, right? So the experiment was that so somebody, the authority, or the university, let's say, the university said that, okay, you sell these parrots to these two people, and then after 6 months we will buy them back. So they bought them back, and those two parrots, what they did, how they even ate their food when they were brought back in the laboratory was very different. The one who went to Brahmins, because obviously he used to hear all the shastras, his mind was very calm, and obviously he was used to recite all those Sanskrit verses. He could, because parrots are renowned for them. And at the same time, if you give him the food, he will politely eat. But the other guy who went to not pious people, in that family, they always used to swear a lot. They used to listen to the loud music. So this parrot felt like was always in stress. Whatever you will give to him to eat, he will make a mess of it. And then they did this recording, and they called the owner and said, "Could you believe that these two were the same parrot 6 months back, and you trained them equally? Is there any difference?" He said, "I can't think of any difference. They both were equal in each and every ability I can think of, because I taught them." So the only difference we could think of was the sound vibration they hear and the association they had. And based on this, so this was done very recently, I think like 6 or 7 years back. But in our Shastras, 5,000 years back, it has been said that the association is very important. And as I always say, that's the reason parents always be very mindful and cautious that with whom our children are associated with. Who is your friend? So if you will say, "Oh, I need to go to my friend's place," the very first question is, which friend, right? Do we know him or her? Yeah? And sometimes go even further, what their parents do. They say, "What do you need to worry about what my friend's parents do?" Right? Because if we know the parents, we know what the child is going to be like. And a lot of cases, not all the time, there are some exceptions, but most of the cases that's so true. So Ishan, when you read them, even though some of the verses, and I could feel it when you were laughing in between, if your parents are behind, they might be thinking, in which accent you're pronouncing Vrindavana, right? But in your accent, that's what it is, right? if Devesh Devika or Arun Shivani, if they will recite, it might be very similar. But just by reciting it, you got some pious karma. And I got Shivani's hand up. Shivani, yes, please.
Whenever I talk to somebody in Hindi who knows Hindi, they keep laughing at me, and I keep asking you why they laugh at me.
True. It's just because
it's in a good way. It's not like making fun of me, but it's in a good way.
True, especially grandparents. If grandparents are in India, they love the accent their grandchildren speak in, and they want to ask the small kids. And not only that, when the kids are very young, even if they are still in the same country, the way they pronounce is very, very cute and innocent. So that's the reason one of the parents asks. So even if we can't, we should still try to pronounce the good words. So like what we say, Nanda Maharaj was the father of Lord Krishna. Then we have transcendental. Transcendental is one of the words we might hear a lot of time. Most of the time it's, so when we say trans, it's like away, it's like beyond, it's like above. So we have three modes of material nature. So whatever we do in our life, let's say, we do in mode of ignorance, like we're ignorant. And sleep, interesting enough, when we are sleep, we are in mode of ignorance because we don't know what's happening around us. But there could be many more things. When we drink alcohol, when you say when people, humans drink alcohol, they don't remember what's happening around them, and that's the reason alcohol is prohibited. We should not drink alcohol. Similar things for many more bad things. So the reason is we lose the conscious what we are doing. Yeah. And then that's mode of ignorance. Then mode of passion, especially in sports, when we really want to do something, or when we want to go higher and higher in our career. Then we have mode of goodness, when you would like to do good things, or maybe what we are trying to do now could fall into mode of goodness. But there is something which is even beyond that, which is when we are not thinking that we are doing good, or we are not doing anything passionate. We could be passionate about spiritual things, but passionate could just be the source of it. That's not the destination. Let me say that again, that anything, not only passion, anything could be the root of it, the way we employ things, but that's not the source of it. That's not the destination of it. We just don't want that. Like in sports, people say, you need to be passionate. And you say, yes, but in spiritual, if you are passionate, depends how you use your passion. If you use your passion to elevate your consciousness, great, use it. Yeah. But so we need to control that. So transcendental is when we are beyond these modes. So we are consciously doing ourselves. We are not just falling into three modes, that we are doing something good because somebody said it's good. We don't realize why we are doing it. Somebody said it's good, so we are doing it. Same thing for the passion and ignorance. And we will deal more. But when we are beyond these modes, that's the reason we say transcendental. Then we say abode is the place, but Vrindavan is a very nice place in India, in northern India. Krishna spent his childhood there. So if you haven't, whenever you go to India, it's not far from Delhi, I will request you go and visit Vrindavan. It's a lovely place to be. Of course, you need to be in the right association and the right temperature, because sometimes it could be very hot there. The most pleasing form of worship for the Lord is that which was performed by the gopis of Vrindavan. So Krishna's friends are called Gopa and Gopis. So again, we will discuss that. Srimad Bhagavatam is spotless, and this is a beautiful. So after Bhagavad-Gītā, we reach to Bhagavatam, Srimad Bhagavatam. Now the last thing, Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So Lord Krishna came down as Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Now who is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? We will discuss that. Great, a lot more things to discuss. So any question from anyone regarding whatever we have done so far? No? Okay.
Prabhuji?
Yes, please. Shivani.
On the last slide, there's this picture.
Mhm.
Who's that person?
This is Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur.
Ah, okay.
He's a prominent, well, in the he's a Vaishnava, but he's a Gauriya Vaishnava, we call him. But he was an acharya, a teacher. And while he's writing, he's crying because he's missing Krishna. A lot of time, like Surdas ji was one of them. Whenever he used to sing, he used to cry. Mirabai ji, Tukaram ji. These are enlightened people. When they miss Krishna, they realize where we are not supposed to be here. That's the reason. Yeah. So thank you for that question, Shivani. So now what we do, so what it says, according to Srila Prabhupada, what he said, that it's not that we just, in Bhagavad-Gītā, we just read theory. We need to know how practically we can implement all this knowledge, right? So he said, one must study Bhagavad-Gītā, BG, inside out. So anyone knows what inside out means? All right. What does it mean inside out? Read Bhagavad-Gītā inside out. Arun is here with me.
So to read Bhagavad-Gītā inside out is basically to know it very well. So it's like you need to know it very well. That's what it means by understanding it inside and out.
Okay, right, great, thank you. Shivani, you were saying something?
I think it means that you should read it. You should read the outside of it, like the front cover of it, by who it's made from and stuff, and the inside of it, meaning like what's actually written inside it.
All right, okay. So you're saying that we should read what's inside it, and we should also know what's outside the book. Very nice. That could also be it. But inside out usually means that we should read it thoroughly. We should understand each and everything in it. If anyone would ask any question, we should be able to answer it. And that's the way we should read anything we read. Not only Bhagavad-Gītā, but if you read maths, chemistry, biology, anything we read, we should read inside out. Such a way that all our fundamentals are clear. And the last point, he said, that the flow of philosophy should be there, which means after chapter 3, why we are doing chapter 4, how chapter 3 and chapter 4 are connected, how chapter, like the first section and the second section and the third section are connected. So we should do, and we should understand it, and we should be able to let others know as well, and how it fits together, cohesive, we call it. So this is what he meant, that this is how we should really read it. And this is another Acharya, not from the Mutt, not from Gauriya Mutt, but Adi Shankaracharya ji. He said, he described Gita as a river of nectar. A river of nectar. Now, nectar is one of the most precious thing anyone could have. And he said it's a river of nectar, which means there is so much nectar in Bhagavad-Gītā. And Lord speaks Gita out of compassion for living entities. Now, Krishna gave answers to Arjun's questions, but those questions are also our questions, which means all the answers Krishna gave to Arjun, those answers are also for us. Now, I believe we have done this, so we wouldn't go back and do it. It's also recorded if anyone would like to go back and check it. We have seen this. This is in the background when we did it. Kuru. So Kuru was one of the top king, and from his family we got rest of them. Shantanu, who got married to Ganga, who gave birth to Bhishma. So Ganga and Shantanu gave birth to Bhishma. Shantanu got married to Satyavati, and then Parasharji and Satyavati got as Vyasadeva. Then Bhishma didn't marry. Bhishma didn't get any children, so no other arrow going anywhere. But yeah, Shantanu and Satyavati gave birth to 2 children, 2 sons, Vichitravirya and Chitranga. So Chitrangada, he well, there is a story how he got married. He got killed, but maybe later. But he died. He actually, well, I will tell you, it's very funny though. Sorry, somebody got died. It's not supposed to be funny, but Aaron laughing. But he was a human. And there is so when we are doing Goloka chart Saturday mornings these days, in Goloka chart we see we are on planet Earth, and there is a heaven where Indra lives. Between planet Earth, Earth is called Bhur, and heaven is called Swarg. And then the way we remember Gayatri Mantra, Om Bhur Bhuva Swaha. So Bhur is Earth, Bhuva, very similar, is the middle one, and Swarg, Swa is the Swarg. So between Earth, planet Earth, and heaven, there is another planet in between, and Gandharv. Many different people live, but there is one community called Gandharvas. Gandharvas are the singers of heavens. So whenever Indra wants to listen to very melodious songs, he will call Gandharva. And Gandharvas will come along and they will dance and they will sing. And they are also very auspicious people in a lot of things, but they are very good singers and dancers. So there was one Gandharva whose name was Chitranga. His name was Chitranga. When he heard that on planet Earth there is somebody whose name is Chitranga, he came down and he fought with this Chitranga and he killed him. Why? Because he said, if I'm Chitranga, you cannot be Chitranga. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine? What a life. Yes. So because he was a Gandharva, he was much more powerful. He had a lot of different what we call siddhis. He could change his shape and all. And this Chitranga was a human. So he just got killed by another Chitranga who was a Gandharva. And Shivani, you're unmuted. You would like to add something?
Yeah, I think that he should get bad karma for doing that, because it isn't like it's harming or anything.
He did. You're very right. He did get bad karma, just because of killing that. But that's the reason this poor guy didn't get any wife or any children. So no arrow coming out of him. Vichitravirya got married to Ambika, Ambalika, and there was another one. Well, he didn't get married to Amba, but who was Shikhandi later. But Ambika and Ambalika. From, if you see the arrows going, from Vichitravirya and Ambalika got Pandu. Pandu got married to Kunti and Madhuri, and Pandu and Kunti gave birth to Yudhishthir, Bhishma, and Arjun. Pandu and Madhvi gave birth to Nakul and Sahadev. So these are 5 Pandavas. Kunti also got Karna from Suryadev. So Kunti had the boon that he could beget children, and he did. He begot Karna from Suryadev. He got Yudhishthir from Yamraj, also called Dharmraj. From wind, from Vayudev, she got Bhima, and Arjun from Indra. Nakul and Sahadev from Ashwani Kumar, who are the doctors of demigods. So this is Vichitravirya's and Ambalika's family, Pandu's family, right? When we come to Ambika, Vichitravirya and Ambika gave birth to Dhritarashtra, and he himself was good enough to give birth to 100 sons, and there was a daughter as well. So there were 101 children, 100 sons and 1 daughter. And he got married to Gandhari, and Gandhari had a brother called Shakuni, who came along with Gandhari to live with Dhritarashtra. Right, okay, so yeah, Draupadi was the wife of Arjun, but the turn of events, she became the wife of all the 5, and she was supposed to be. Subhadra was Krishna's wife, Krishna's sister and Arjun's wife, called Subhadra. If we go to Jagannath Puri in Orissa in India, East India, then in Jagannath Puri, we have Lord Krishna, Lord Balram and Subhadra. So those 3 are there. And Subhadra is Arjun's wife and Lord Krishna's and Lord Balaram's sister. Abhimanyu was Arjun's and Subhadra's son. Abhimanyu's wife Uttara, Abhimanyu's and Uttara's wife called Parikshit, he's the one who asked questions from, and those question and answers are there available for us in form of Srimad Bhagavad. So Parikshit Maharaj was very, very auspicious because of him we got Srimad Bhagavatam. Because of Arjun, we got Bhagavad-Gītā. Because Arjun asked questions in Bhagavad-Gītā from Krishna, and Parikshit Maharaj asked questions from Sutji, from Suta Goswami, and we got Bhagavatam. And then he also had a son called Janmejay, who was also very famous because he started killing a lot of snakes, because Parikshit got killed by a snake. So he said, because a snake killed my father, I'm going to kill all the snakes. And then the story goes. There are many stories in them. All right, okay. So any question or anything here? We have discussed this before, and briefly I've just mentioned now. So hopefully everything is clear. We don't really need to remember the names. If the names will come back anytime later. For example, Yudhishthir, if you don't remember who was Yudhishthir, keep asking me. Don't bother. If you will ask me a million times, I will answer you a million times. And hopefully you would remember it, because that's the way we usually remember. You all will remember 1, 2, 3, 4, A, B, C, D. In the beginning, when we all started learning, we didn't know. But just because we have learned it so many times, we have read it so many times, we have heard it so many times, we remember it. So it's not that we need to remember, but every time, more and more we do, better we will get. All right, okay, interesting. So this is, as we said, the overview. Now somebody will ask you, you call yourself Hindu, then which is your book? I said, well, we have Vedas. Well, Vedas are huge. How can I read Vedas? Is that okay? If you want to understand the philosophy of Hinduism, then read Bhagavad-Gītā. Like in Christianity, we have Bible. Now, of course, we have many, many different types of Bible. We have Old Testament, New Testament, Mormons, and there are many. Like, then we have many. Similarly, if you go to Islam, then we have one, Holy Quran, we call it. And then, but there are many different hadiths, which are again very similar to purports of different acharyas. But Quran is one book. And if you go to Sikhism, then there is a book. And then if you go to Buddhism, then there is a book. Similarly, every organized religion has a book. In Hinduism also, we have Bhagavad-Gītā, which concisely, precisely give all the wisdom we need. So that's the answer if anybody will ask. Now somebody will ask, what's there in Bhagavad-Gītā? Can you let us know in a minute or two? You can say, yes, we can let you know. There are 18 chapters, 700 verses, and 18 chapters, 700 verses are split into 3 different sections. Okay, first 6, so 18 divided by 3 is 6. So first 6 chapters, middle 6 chapters, and the last 6 chapters. Now the first 6 chapters, and this is the way we understand like a sandwich. So if you have ever eaten cheese sandwich, right? So cheese is in the middle, and on the top you have a bread, and then at the bottom you have a bread. Now you have bread above, bread below, and cheese in the middle. So you have 2 layers of bread and 1 layer of cheese. But interesting enough, it's still called cheeseburger. You have less cheese and more bread. Why is it still called as cheeseburger? Because the bread is not the important thing. Cheese is the important thing. And if that cheese will be replaced by something else, then we will call that burger, right? So very similarly, what is in Bhagavad-Gītā? We have first 6 chapters, the top bread, the last 6 chapters, the bottom bread. Then we have the main thing, like a cheese in the middle. Yeah. So what's there in the middle is what we call bhakti. Bhakti is called devotion to the Lord, right? And we will try to understand these words as we go along. But then the first 6 chapters, they are related to karma. Karmas are actions. What kind of actions we do? So we should become a bhakta, we should become a devotee, right? We should become a spiritual. There could be different meanings of just one word. But these first 6 chapters will make us understand that how we will become bhakta, or will make us a bhakta or a devotee, and more spiritual, more religious maybe. And the last 6 full of jnana. Jnana is knowledge, right? The knowledge, that knowledge which will lead us to bhakti. Again, that bread which will support cheese. So the top bread will support cheese, the bottom bread will support cheese. Both of them will support the main bit which is in the middle called cheese. Here, devotion, bhakti. So karma, bhakti, jnana. First 6 chapters on the actions, what kind of actions we should do. The last 6 chapters, what kind of knowledge we should have. And then what we should become, a devotee, right? So if you think about it, very simple. In one sentences or 2 sentences, you can say, well, like people say a sentence or couple of sentences. Can you explain it? Yes. 18 chapters, 700 verses, divided into 3. The first 6, karma, the actions we do to become a devotee. The last 6 chapters, the knowledge we need to have to become a devotee. And the middle sections, very important, what actions and what knowledge help you to become a devotee, and what that devotee is. What is devotional life? What is a devotee? What devotee does? And Arjun even asked, how does a devotee walk? How does a devotee sit? How does devotee eat? And all that. And Krishna answers all those questions as well. Okay. So this is what we can say about Bhagavad-Gītā in just 1 or maybe 2 sentences. And that's it. Right? Any question on anything we have covered so far? Okay. All right. Okay. Let's go further. Srila Prabhupada's commentary based on. So we have already said that, okay, we have already seen Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakurji, that Prabhupada ji, he got his commentary based on other acharyas' commentary. So there are many teachers, they have written commentaries of Bhagavad-Gītā in different languages, some in Sanskrit, some in Bengali, some in English. And then Srila Prabhupada ji read all of them because he could read all these languages, and he put all them together in one. And that's called Bhagavad-Gītā as it is. Hare Krishna. I think Kana has just joined, which is great. Kana, we have changed the timing. So instead of from UK time, instead of 6 to 7, now we do 5 to 6. So we will finish very soon, but I will stay here with you if you like for a few minutes. So Srila Prabhupada's commentary is based on these 4 acharyas. So prominently, which is main stuff got from Srila. Srila is like what we say, Mr. So you say Srila, or Shripad, or Srila. Srila is like Mr., but mainly for respect, right? Baldev Vidya Bhushan. So A is like if we write Ram, R-A-M-A, but in Hindi we could call Rama, right? But we add A. Krishna, or we could call Krishna. So Baldeva or Baldeva. Baldev Vidya Bhushan, right? In Sanskrit. Gita, well, this is called Bhashya. Gita Bhushana Bhashya. Because if you see Bhushana coming from his name. So Vidya Bhushan gave Gita's Bhashya. Bhashya is also commentary. So a lot he got from him. And then Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakurji we have seen. Srila Sridhar Swamiji. Sridhar Swamiji is also famous, very famous. And they all did, all of them, there is another, so all these, like Gita Bhushan Bhashya, Sartha Vasini Tika, Tika is also commentary, Subodhani, and then Gita Bhashya, all of them were written by these respected teachers, and they all are different books, and we can read them, but they are in different languages. Shripad Ramanujacharya, he's also very good. So all these teachers, Srila Prabhupada ji read them and tried to understand them and wrote it, put everything together. The Bhagavad-Gītā as it is, right? So as we are doing the overview of Bhagavad-Gītā, before we get into the detail, so this is just for our understanding. The most interesting, so this says division of 700 verses in Bhagavad-Gītā, like who wrote what, how many verses. This is also good to understand. For example, Dhritarashtra, he only wrote one verse, only one verse, right? Well, not only wrote it, sorry, only one verse was said by him. So he asked one thing, and that's the very first verse of Bhagavad-Gītā. Now, out of 700, if you see 574 by Krishna, 84 by Arjun, so these are the main Krishna and Arjun. And that's the reason if somebody asks, what is Bhagavad-Gītā? Well, it's a conversation or it's a dialogue between Krishna and Arjun. Nobody will mention Sanjay or Dhritarashtra. But if you say, so who said the first verse of Bhagavad-Gītā? It's actually Dhritarashtra. And many people get it wrong because they won't even think that Dhritarashtra said anything in Bhagavad-Gītā. But he said very first word, and that's the only thing he said it. Because he said that, and after that, Sanjay started. Now, Sanjay had the magical power given to him by Ved-Vyasa. And that's the reason he could see everything happening in Kurukshetra. So it's like he has the CCTV camera in his room, and even though Kurukshetra war was happening somewhere far distance, but he could see. And then few things he said it. He said to Dhritarashtra, oh, you could see that. Oh, I can see that. So that's where it says Sanjay Uvacha. Uvacha is said. Otherwise, Shri Bhagavan Uvacha, which is Krishna Uvacha. Krishna is considered as Bhagavan. Otherwise, Arjuna Uvacha. So wherever we will see the Sanskrit verses, whenever it says Arjuna Uvacha, Sanjay Uvacha, or Krishna Uvacha, or sometimes if Krishna has said 10 verses together, maybe the first verse will say Krishna Uvacha, and the rest of them might not say that. Okay, so right. This is, again, we don't really need to remember the numbers, but it's good for us. It's a different perspective how we can think of it. This is again chapter-wise verses. Now, which chapter is the biggest one or the bulkiest one? Sometimes people ask these kind of questions. Now, this is a very color-coded. This presentation is available. If you want, you can take it from me, or I can share with you. It's available. So you don't really need to take, because Adi is not there. Adi loves taking pictures. He said, Prabhuji, I take pictures of your presentation. So yes, feel free. I can share this with you because a lot of information is there. Again, we don't really need to remember all, but if we know the context of it, if we know the perspective, sometimes if we know somebody asks the question, we can always go back and we can check it. Oh, I don't know the answer right now, but I know a presentation or a slide put by Prabhuji, not by me, but the Prabhuji, Amrit Andaran Prabhuji. We can go and check from his slides. And then you can give the information, which is great, I think. So you see, it says chapter 2 has a star, chapter 15 has a star, chapter 18 has a star. So these chapters are really, really, really important chapters. All the chapters are important. Chapter 2 gives the summary. Chapter 2 says, sorry, chapter 12. Yeah, sorry, I was thinking. No, chapter 2 gives the summary. That's 72 verses. That's right. Chapter 12 is when we will reach, I will let you know that chapter 12, chapter 15, why they are important. Chapter 18 is the end of it. So it summarizes everything. And a lot of things which Krishna has already said it, Krishna repeats back in chapter 18. And this is the chapter, is the bulkiest one, 78 verses. Then, of course, 72. Then there are many in 40s, and 50s only one. Otherwise, 40s it seems to be. 20 is the lowest, but 30, 40s, they are the majority of ones. Otherwise, they're only 78 and 72. They are the biggest one. 72, the summary given the content summarized in the beginning, and 18 at the end. So we will take it from here, and we will get further from chapter 1, and then we shall resume back next Sunday, London timing, 5 p.m. And if you haven't got it already, last week I shared that we should have our own Bhagavad-Gītā. If you haven't got it yet, then please get a copy from the local temple. If you don't, you can get it online. Otherwise, if you don't know which is your local temple, feel free to contact me. I can find the local temple wherever, whichever part of the world you are in. You're lucky, or we all are lucky to be part of such a nice organization called ISKCON, that the temples are there all over the world, and we could always find the book. Meanwhile, Veda Base, VEDA, Veda Base, BASE, Veda Base is the website, and you have the Bhagavad-Gītā available there online, free of cost. So feel free to read it there. Give it a time. We will go very slow, and we will read it. We will discuss it. And because remember, we need to know in and out. So by all means, you have the whole week, read few verses or as many as verses you can from chapter 1, and we shall discuss all of them next week. London timing, Sunday, 5 p.m. So with that, take good care of yourself. I look forward to see you next week. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gurudev Maharaj ki jai, Samved Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Jai Jai Shri Radhe. Hare Krishna, everyone.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Deveshi Devika. All the blessings. Hare Krishna, Isha.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Blessings for you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Shivani. Take good care of yourself. See you later. Bye.